Hey guys, Jordan with Paint, Leather, and Tool here again with another video. The other day I talked about doing a video giving my take on what the most basic tools needed are to get into leatherwork. And so here's my take on things. Mind you, this is just my opinion and people might disagree. But this right here, I think if you had these three tools, so you got a knife to cut leather. This particular design would be called a head knife. I don't necessarily know why these tools were given the names that they were given, but smaller, especially single-sided knives used to cut leather were called head knives, whereas a larger knife, maybe double-sided, something like this style here would be called a round knife. Anyway, that's sort of the boring etymology of all this. But anyway, you got a knife, you got some dividers here, compass, if you want to call it that, and an awl. If you have those three things, you can pretty much get into leatherwork. Maybe some string, but there's a lot of projects that don't require any stitching at all. So I would say being able to cut the leather, being able to mark the leather, and being able to poke holes through the leather. Now, you probably could take this guy out right here and just use these two. If you had a ruler, you don't even need the dividers to mark. You could mark that with a ruler, a straight edge of some sort, maybe even a piece of cardboard. So these two guys right here. Now, those probably look expensive. They're, rosewood handle on this guy, macassar ebony on this. So they are relatively valuable tools, considering. So you don't even have to start there. Something like this is a cheap knife. I don't even know where I got it. It came in a box of stuff that I had. It's got a rusty edge. It needs to be reground and profiled, but it's got good steel. It would work just fine. Maybe you find something like that on eBay for a few bucks. Here's a Tandy awl, super cheap, couple bucks. Pokes a hole, makes a mark, just like the fancier version I showed you before. Here's an old set of wing dividers that I had that got some rust on them. I started to clean them up, I think, but I just don't use this style very often, and so I tossed them in a box with the rest of this stuff. Those guys there, though, would work just as well as the nicer, fancier stuff I showed you before. You don't have to have, $100, $200, $300 tool to do leather work. In fact, you could probably even take this out, and this is a specialty tool, so you're only going to find something like this at either a leather shop, a Tandy, some type of leather craft store, or online, someplace that sells that. You could even start with this. Most people have utility knives sitting around in drawers, so you could use something like that. If you wanted to go back to what I was saying before about not using dividers, throw those out of the mix. So now all it takes is a utility knife and an awl. Probably have something like an awl laying around that you could use if you had to. Maybe you even have to sharpen a nail and glue it in the end of a handle of some type. So there's ways that you can get around having to have specific leather tools to get into leatherworking. Now, there is a reason that leather tools look different. There's a reason that a head knife or a round knife looks different and functions different than a utility knife. The idea behind it is that you would use this knife like this on leather. So just as an example, let me grab a piece here. This is how you would cut leather with a head knife or a round knife. You would cut, and you always keep your fingers back behind, but just for the sake of the demonstration, you can cut the leather like this. So you can cut curves, you can cut straight lines, and you're always cutting in front of the blades. You can always see what you're cutting on. So if you have a line marked or drawn onto the leather, you can see it and you can cut it easily. If you were using a utility knife, the problem is that the line is always covered up by the blade, and it makes it a little more difficult to see. So there's a reason that this shape and this style has been around for as long as it is. Now, like I said, this is an old rusty knife that I pulled out of a box. Needs some work, but this particular design, the two-sided round round curved design of a leather knife has been around since at least the Egyptian time. There's pictures of knives shaped just like this in drawings that date back to then. So, and likely that they were used before that as well. So, you know, there's a lot of history behind it, and it's worked for many thousands of years. So, why mess with something if people before me have already figured out that it works? And it's true. I've used a utility knife to cut leather. In fact, the first leather that I ever cut was probably with a utility knife, and it works okay. And I still use these for straight cuts if I need to cut against a straight edge, like a ruler or something like that, just to get a nice long straight cut. I will sometimes use a utility knife. You know, the blades are replaceable. I'm not dulling my nice blade that I have to resharpen. So that's my take on it. If you want to talk about bare bones, there you go. Nothing wrong with that. It would work, and you could probably make something that's really nice looking with those if you add in the skill. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to cover. Now, it does make life easier having purpose-made tools, and that's why I have a whole tool board full of stuff. It all serves a purpose. It all does a task, a specific task, and it does it well. Leather tools are pretty specific in nature, and you'll find that a lot of times there's nothing else that looks like it. Whereas if you talk woodworking or, you know, some of these other hobbies you might have where you use some tools, a lot of the tools kind of overlap. And I do use a fair amount of woodworking tools and some other types of tools in my leatherwork, but specific leatherworking tools are unique for a reason. It's because they have a specific task, and working leather is pretty unique in that it doesn't work like wood, it doesn't work like metal, and so you have to have specific tools to work it properly. So anyway, I hope that answers the questions. You know, if you got these guys there, go ahead and find a piece of leather. You know, go to Goodwill, buy an old purse, find something that's made of some decent leather, cut it apart. I think that's how I did my very first leather project, was from a purse cut apart from a thrift shop or something like that. So you know, go wild. And if you have any questions along the way, you can feel free to contact me. I'll be happy to help out as I can. And yeah, videos maybe get a little bit more in depth as we go from here, but I just wanted to kind of start from the basics and show you what I thought were, you know, your definite necessities. And if you got a few bucks to spend, you know, go to Tandy or go online, you know, and buy a round knife, you know, buy, you know, a decent set of dividers, and, you know, maybe buy a scratch awl. I would say that's probably where you can start. And then if you want to start getting into stitching, you know, maybe you need a diamond awl. If you want to get to, you know, carving and tooling, you know, maybe you want to go down that road, that's fine. There's a lot of very specific tools for that, mallets, and then the many thousands of stamps that are out there. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do, and there's a lot of different routes you can take in leatherwork. And I hope that if you're interested in it, you'll stick with it. And like I said, I'll be happy to help along the way if I can. So let me know if you have any questions. Sorry I kind of got a little long-winded there, but feel free to ask any questions in the comments. If you have any requests for demonstrations on any particular leather task or how any particular leather tool works, let me know. I'll be happy to do those. I will get into some videos, some process videos with some of the stuff that we make here at some point. Right now I figured I would just kind of start from the beginning, but check out what we're doing. I post a lot of pictures on Instagram. Pain Leather and Tool is our account. You can always go to our website. I have a gallery there, www.painleatherandtool.com, and you can also reach me here in the comments or email me, Jordan@painleatherandtool.com. You can get a hold of me there. Yeah, but be sure to like and subscribe the video if you found it helpful at all. And like I said, this was just kind of the very beginnings for somebody who has zero clue what they're doing. And there's probably videos out there like this, but this is my take on it. Hopefully it's interesting or somewhat helpful to someone out there. And if it is, then I did my job. So yeah, thanks for stopping in, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.